Welcome to the Nehemiah Entrepreneurship Community Podcast. I'm your host, Patrice Tsague. I'm here day three, Nehemiah Week Recap 2022, with my co host, Susan Schramm. Susan, this is day three.
An exciting 2 days, hasn't it been?
It has been an exciting 2 days. Guys, so we're here because we want to invite you to join us. So we got 2 more days to go. We've got Thursday, actually 3 more days to go. We have Thursday, which is our investors forum, where you get a chance to hear entrepreneurs make pitches for capital and hear how investors think through investing in businesses, and also hear how the entrepreneur we've invested in, how they've managed the capital, how they're doing right now, and just kind of get insights. And you'll get a chance to see one entrepreneur from Kenya actually make a pitch. They're an HR company, and you'll get a chance to hear that and hear what kind of question the investors ask them. And then you'll also get a chance to learn about our Global Kingdom Investors Network and what it look like and how we help entrepreneurs raise capital. And then on Friday, we have our International Business Plan Competition. And so that event, you'll have 4 entrepreneurs from 4 regions: Asia, Africa, Europe, Latin America, who are going to be competing for who will hold on to the 2022 trophy. Will Kenya hold on to it, being the third year in a row that Kenya has won, or will France take it, representing Europe? Would India take it, representing Asia, or will the United States take it, representing North America? It's a great day. By the way, you want to make sure you sign up and come, because you can get a chance to also vote for your favorite contender and give them the People's Choice Award. That's an additional $1,000. So a complete of $11,000 that they can win. And then we conclude on Saturday with our State of the Ministry event. David Bennett will be joining us, and also our good friend Vanessa and Jason. They'll be emceeing the event. You'll get a chance to hear our impact around the globe and celebrate with us as we learn who will be the 2022 business plan competition winner. Also, while you're with us, we have some special prizes, including 20% off of all of our training product and courses that you can take advantage of it. You can even membership. So with that said, so Susan, day three. Today we have some special guests. We began with Pastor Moore, who really he took it to a whole nother level. I mean, I felt like I was in church, and it was a revival.
Yes. Well, I think what was interesting was Pastor Moore had started yesterday, 2 days ago. He had started a challenge to have us really think about the fact that he used a reference from 2 Kings um, about what would happen if you lost something, right? Because we're talking about
Mm,
operational excellence.
that's right.
And the challenge is operational excellence is a pursuit. It's not a static thing. It's not just a goal when you get there and you're over the line. It's a constant pursuit. And so he laid the groundwork about the fact that you needed the power of God, the grace of God, and the care of God to get to that point, and acknowledging that you needed help. But I think today he then takes it to the next level, right? He talks at the next level about this is going to end up being setbacks are God's way of showing us something, teaching me something, changing something in me, or
Mhm.
growing something in me. And I thought that was really interesting because then you'd start to go, there's a curiosity that comes from this setback, that the operational, perfectly run machine doesn't have to be perfectly run. And if you had to do some diagnostics, you'd say, well, what about this needs to change? And I thought that was very, very compelling.
Yeah, yeah. One of the key statement that he made that personally I really loved, this whole idea of the possibility that are in Christ, as whatever your circumstance, whatever your situation, that God is able. I mean, that just kind of hit me like a rock. And then from there, I then thought, and I pretty much played a video that illustrated an earthquake. And the case there, the point there was that as we consider how buildings are built during earthquakes, and those buildings are built in such a way that they can withstand the pressure of an earthquake. The question becomes, how do we build our businesses, our lives, to be earthquake resistance? Susan, what was some key take for you from that?
I think it was interesting that you spoke about being earthquake resistant, not entirely earthquake proof. And the fact that there were things that there were practical things that we can do. You gave us some very structured approaches to ensuring that there were practices we could put in place that had several dimensions um, that made it proactively thinking about what might happen. And just like the people who build these big buildings who survive earthquakes, you were talking about proactively planning for your process of proactively planning for documenting things so that when there were things that were difficult, you'd have a plan for it. Can you just go over those different dimensions? I thought that was very constructive.
Oh yeah, sure. So we kind of begin first by laying the framework of, and by the way, this actually came from what you and I kind of put together, the worldview, right?
Mhm.
In terms of, okay, how you see the world. If you're going to be earthquake resistant, then you have to have the right approach of seeing things, which you got to think about it before it even happens. Got it, and then you got to have, what are the guiding principles about which you make decisions, about which you think things through, so that when it happens, you already know what you're going to do.
Right.
And then what are the practices, cultivating certain organizational habits, such as strategic planning, adaptability, using your what if scenarios, teamwork. One of the points we made here with teamwork, and I heard somebody else bring it up during one of the breakouts, when they were talking about some takeaways, which to me is this idea that, so when change happen, oftentimes, so we don't think about the consequence of dealing with change or new things when we are releasing people or bringing new people in.
Right.
And the problem becomes, so let's take us Nehemiah week. When our first year was our toughest year, because we were a new team taking on a new project. But if you've noticed, each year we've gotten more comfortable, better and better, and it gets a little boring for us. But the our ability to adapt with a team that you already know, like I'm nervous about tomorrow. Not because the MC tomorrow is not going to be great. It's just she's new.
Yeah, right. New person, different changes. And you know what you
Exactly.
brought up was interesting to me because we spent a little time on that one, and the value of proactively thinking about retention.
Yep.
If it's interesting. I do risk analysis on projects, and I think, and I work with organizations to launch new strategies. One of the strategic or the risk assessment dimensions is, has this team ever worked together before?
Got
And
it.
has anyone on the team ever done this before? Right. So if you had a little table, your high, far right risk if they're all new doing something and they've never done it before. And what's interesting is, if you know that that's the case, then you can proactively plan for having people who have a routine, who had experience, and it makes it more. When you think about in today's world of what's it called, the Great Resignation, when people are picking up and just leaving, to the value of being very open with people, that there is a value for you staying, for you to be productive in your career and your work, as well as for us. So I think the dimension of teamwork is not simply everybody having processes in place, but a comfort level and a trust that
Mm.
makes them more adaptable when somebody throws them something new.
Yeah, yeah, having a certain culture, because there's enough change happening on the outside of you,
Right.
right? And the more things are constant on the inside of you, it makes adaptability a lot easier. And then we talked about having clear measurements and budget. And then we went on to, after we talk about the practice, then process and system in
Right.
terms of just having documentation and considering automation. Because what happens with automation is that those are things the machine does the thinking for you. So which it minimizes stuff that human have to do, which minimizes error. And in times of uncertainty, right, those are less things that you have to think about. Because the more you minimize the decision making process of humans, the more you optimize the chances of success.
Can we
Uh,
share it one way? The more you
yeah,
give humans capacity to
that's
make
right.
decisions, and you
That's
take
right.
those things that don't need to be decisions over again and automate them, the more people have breathing room, right? In tight,
Yeah.
because times are tight, it's stressful,
Yep.
and as other speakers have said, I mean, the environment is now is one where people are weary. So doing those things that create sort of a rhythm of processes and how we do things here that make sense, that do still apply to your current environment, just gives you all more capacity for the things that
Mhm.
are new.
One thing, so this year, I'm not sure you paid attention. So Paul automated the speaker reminders,
Oh yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
every day you get in speakers the day before, they get an automatic email saying, hey, look what is seeing you, here the agenda, and so forth, right? That's something we don't have to think about. It's just each day the speaker kind of gets it, right? Versus somebody actually sending out an email,
Mhm.
right? Forgetting or remembering, or having the capacity to actually do that, right? Those are
Every
kind of little things. And then we kind of conclude with acting with faith in the impossibility. And so this idea of, okay, if I'm going to operate with excellence, I've got to be proactive, but I also got to have faith and conviction and believe that all things are possible. So there's almost this limitless thinking.
Yeah, and it's funny because it led right into our next speaker. This idea that, I mean, all the speakers ended up coming back to this idea that you can put any efficiency in place, any operational sort of processes in place, but if you don't have the benefit of inspiration from God with you to pull it off, you these pursuits are harder. This isn't going to happen with the potential that's there. And I thought, I thought we discussed this enough, but we keep coming back to the fact that the foundations, which you talked about yesterday, the foundations of best practices, which are great, but the spiritual side of that, right? That you have to have on top of that, the biblical principles and the spiritual alignment with the Holy Spirit is really, really important.
Amen. Amen. And Scott did a great job of contrast between kind of this idea of small c kingdom, the world, and our approach to looking at operational excellence, just purely best practice standpoint, and the kingdom, looking at best practice from a kingdom perspective. And he
Right.
used cash flow analogy, which I
Now,
thought was such an
in fact,
effective
Scott
use.
Reiser, who's the
Yeah,
CEO of
yeah, that's
Hacklot,
right.
who is I mean, he's an software, security
Yep,
software. I mean,
yep,
it's not a topic that you think about like a churchy topic. He's running a real business. And
yep.
he's saying, I'm running a real business, but how do you make work and your business work as if it were in heaven? And you're right, he held this standard and best practices we use all the time, McKinsey, Accenture, all these different, who's telling you this stuff. But the idea of what is God's
Mm.
heavenly definition of what would be best practice versus what we as humans comparing to each other might put as a standard.
Yeah, yeah. And he this is good. By the way, Scott has a book called At Work as It Is in Heaven. He such a great book that where he gets more into details to how he's modeling his business. And then we went to my favorite. I can never get enough Van Byler. So we did a Q&A discussion, and she began with this idea of the presence of God, which has just so moved her in the last several months. And we got in some questions about how she in building NTN Pretzels, how she was, what excellent meant for her, and the challenge she faced being not having education, not having business experience, but yet God used her mightily. And then this her kind of coined this thing called SALT, in light, which kind of became a framework for what success meant for her. As you were listening to that, what was the thing for you? I'm sure you've been at her stores, and kind of what was the thing that really moved you?
At the end of that, when I was emotional, I was I was really impressed with the authentic approach that she
Mm,
really came from such a humble but authentic place, which is she said very clearly that there's catastrophic consequences if we don't really keep his presence part of how we're building our lives and our business. That this isn't something you just put to the side. That there's, Adam and Eve had some sort of catastrophic consequences, but we too in our world need to have him walking with us every day. And I thought it was interesting because his this salt and light, and we've heard that phrase so many times, but she put it into these four dimensions. S for share. It's like God called me to share myself, share what I can bring, share everything I can provide value with, and share God's word. The second is to be authentic, to actively authentic, which she really was. And she called us to not have to, when she talked about she was an eighth grade education and she was sitting around tables with, all these people with formal educations and a lot of money. And then she stepped back and said, well, wait a minute, we have purpose. We have a
mm.
great product and we have great people. So coming from the point of view of what you do have authentically and not representing yourself as something you don't have is a good focus. And the third was the L in salt was lean in. Focus, hunker down. Don't just step back and let this happen. Actually lean into something. And the last was to trust courageously. Trust in the Lord courageously, build trust with others courageously, um, be vulnerable and be willing to trust others to be vulnerable with you. I thought it truly was an unusual conversation when you think about a intergalactic company CEO with this company, a retail company all over the world, that she would have such a human call to action.
Yeah, I agree. I love. She spoke at our global forum recently, and just powerful. She has the course Overcome and Lead. I just love how she demonstrated that you can build a major, I'm not sure whether they're Fortune 500 or Fortune 1000 corporation with humility,
Mm-hmm.
with exemplifying the stuff that are God's. And she laid a good framework. Now, of course, after that, went to this breakout session, but then we came back on the other side after the break with Chuck Prophet. And it seems as though you and Chuck have been in conversation
Yeah,
because you
right.
guys had the
Our title,
same topic but
right.
different angles. What did you? I'm curious. What did you think the angle he brought to the same topic?
Well, the fun part was that when he put his slide up and said his topic was adaptive advantage, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was my topic. But he took it from a very interesting angle and we
Yeah,
aligned very, very well. I thought it was interesting. He said adaptability conquers efficiency every time,
I
right?
love that statement.
And,
Yep.
and I think and I thought in the whole world over life, if you look at anybody's life or a business, that just being efficient is a goal, but adaptability will actually be a function of resilience. And then he talked about this idea of, okay, what dimensions of this? He said, in today's environment, how do we get organized? You prioritize adaptive strategies, adaptive structures, adaptive systems, and adaptive people, staffing, teams, like you were just talking about, all around the purpose, the focus as purpose. Why are you trying to do this? What's your purpose? And I think very similar to my point of view and what I just shared about the need for better problem solving. So you clarify that you're problem solving in an adaptable world. But I think he really made it clear that if you can't, he said, focus on one thing. He said this phrase, just one thing I can change and one outcome I could create would be a way to calm the team down and get focused and be able to adjust in a way that can take you to the next phase where you're going to have to adjust again.
Ah, I love it. So I love bringing what his angle, your angle together, and then together making one nice whole. And then Anna Maria Laurie, she kind of brought it home by putting kind of a bow on top with this idea. The line that I like in what she said, she talked about this idea of staff, staff and employee satisfaction. It's okay, but what's better is this idea of loyalty. And you did a great job of tying in to operational excellence, because all this time we've been focusing on the culture, the process, right? Even having a team. But I think she's the first one that just honed it down on, okay, it's about, if you can get your retention together, if you can create loyalty, because as you know, many organization, because we can use the same language, adaptability, but then many of us mean efficiency. And when efficiency goes to the extreme, loyalty walks out of the window.
Mm-hmm. She talked. I was a little struck that here we are on day 3, and it's the first really deep conversation about customers, which was really a surprise when I think about it. Right, so much of our conversation is about this adaptability and how we have to work and change. But just she called us to understand our need to have loyal internal customers and external customers, and to build loyalty with them. You be loyal to them, and they're loyal to you. Internal customers being the very point you made at the beginning, this team, this group of people that need to work together, and external customers who actually at the end of the day want to be loyal. Yet, what was the statistic? She said 91% of customers who leave never come back. And it just really struck me that here you are, things are thrown up, and everything doesn't work, and you're trying to do everything you can to just hold it together sometimes in a world with supply chain disruptions and people out sick and all that kind of stuff. And she just felt like it all came back to relationships. Having genuine relationships. People will give you a lot of room, both employees and customers will give you a lot of grace if you're genuine and come from the point of view of love and relationship building. So she challenged us as biblical entrepreneurs to get real, get clear on who we're serving, get friendly and build relationships. And as she ended this, get wow, so that what you do for others creates some sort of excitement and gives them a feeling, even if it's as basic as following up after you make a mistake. But this idea of actually realizing that they know that you truly care about them makes things a lot easier to be adaptable.
I love it. Susan, that was the wrap for the day. Before we wrap, again, if you want to be a part, we have tomorrow, we have Friday, we have Saturday. It's just getting gooder and gooder. Just go to nehemiahweek.com, sign up, register, join us, and be a part. And of course, if you sign up, you'll get the recording for the parts that you've missed, so you won't miss a whole lot, other than the physical engagement. Susan, so this is it for you. When you think about this year as compared to last year, what is what's kind of your closing word? If you had to say to our viewers and listeners, say, hey, here's the key takeaway. Here's what you miss, or here is what you can walk away with from your experience this year. What would you say? And what was different for you this year versus last year? I know a lot of questions there for you.
Yeah, I think I said the other day that this idea that we're in crisis is not really. The world did shut down a few years ago, and we did have a crisis. But I think what I come away with today is this resilience to overcome crisis is a daily journey. It's a daily journey. Yes, you'll be, if you do what you need to do to proactively and intentionally plan on how to be more adaptive, you will be more resilient, not only for the big crises, but for these ones that are shots from the bow that I don't think the world would definitely define as a crisis. I mean, the loss of a customer or an employee who leaves. I mean, this idea that you proactively plan to be an adaptive person that helps you put in place adaptive organizations that allows you to serve adaptive customers with internal and external. It's an intentionality, and obviously the biblical roots of this, the God's presence. Today was a unusual day in that I really felt God's presence so much through so many of the conversations that were vulnerable about about the imperfect action we were all taking, the fact that this operational excellence was a pursuit and that we are going to fall down. And so I think the humility of every person on the team and every speaker just came from such a genuine approach that this is not over. We're on a journey together with God, thank the Lord. Thank the Lord, He is part of our journey. So I come away feeling very intentional about my own adapting my own business, and about everybody I work with feeling like we need to get really good at adapting. That's part of our differentiation as people.
Speaking from the CEO of Go to Market Impact, that helps all of us to de-risk,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Which is my thing. Exactly. Yeah. Thanks
I
so much
love it.
for including me. I really appreciated this and look forward to continuing with the community. I mean, at one point we had a breakout group and we have people from all different languages and all different, parts of the world. And everybody just genuinely said, "Oh, my people, this is so great."
Yeah.
It was,
Yes, yes, yes. Well, Susan, thank you for another great conference. Looking forward to next year with you again. This has been wonderful. And listen, if you want to get in touch with Susan, she does have a website. Visit her at, I believe it's Go to Market. Well, okay, her LinkedIn is there, but go to marketimpact.com, right?
exactly. Go to
Yeah, go to
marketimpact.com. I love
marketimpact.com.
to.
She's just that easy. Go there, you can check her out. She's a consultant. She coaches. She is a speaker. She does training. She has different programs that come alongside you as an organization and help you de-risk your strategy and build that adaptive muscle. So that her passion is mission-based organization. That's either for-profit, not for profit. As long as you're not, as long as, I mean, if you're, if she can evangelize as well. So if you're not mission led, she can evangelize you and make sure, because for her, business is for a purpose. By the way, why mission led for you? I mean, because you came from corporate.
Mhm.
There's something, was there a bug that happened for you that you really made you say, no, I really want to focus on these companies where their mission means something, where they want to really be transformative?
Well, because I actually found that many of the things I worked in tech for 3 decades, and a lot of the time we were spending all our effort on the technology itself, and weren't
Mhm.
as aware of the outcomes. And so many times, so many things we were doing was potentially making huge changes in people's lives. So I decided to found a company where we help leaders accelerate their impact when they're shifting strategies to strengthen communities and save lives. And it is, and not surprising when I say that, it's not just saving lives for today, but saving lives for eternity. So,
I love it. And what's awesome is that you work with companies that are Christian led and those
mhm.
who are not. And
Yep.
think about the influence you're having in the marketplace. That is your mission. You're doing it for a higher purpose. Thank you for that. Well, guys, if you enjoyed this podcast, listen, do us a favor, share it, right? Share it on your social, share it on your LinkedIn, share it on your YouTube channel, share it on your Instagram. Friends share with friends that which has helped them. That's a good friend. I do that. When I like something, I go ahead and share my friends because I appreciate them. That's my show. So share it. And also, if you want to know about us, about how you can join the conference tomorrow, go to Nehemiah e-community, go to nehemiahweek.com, nehemiah.com. There you can learn about us as an organization and take advantage of all that we have to offer. But if you want to know about us, you want to join Nehemiah Week, go to nehemiahweek.com. I'm sorry, nehemiahecommunity.com takes you to our website. Nehemiah.com takes you to sign up for Nehemiah Week. Good to see you, Paul, and thank you so much for being with us. Guys, listen, we so appreciate you all for supporting our efforts and joining us in this journey. Join us tomorrow so we can continue joining together. I want to pray for you. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord enable you to steward those talents that are under your care and to steward them in such a way that one day you'll hear those wonderful words. Well done, good and faithful servant. Yes, you've been faithful over a few things, and guess what? He'll not make you rule over much. God bless you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Susan, thank you so much.
See, I'll be watching tomorrow. Talk to you later.